And now, South Park Elementary presents the happy, non-offensive, non-denominational Christmas play with music and lyrics by New York minimalist composer Philip Glass.
Picture, if you will, a beginner film class on maybe the 5th or 6th session, and our professor greets us all, and he says we're going to watch a new film. He dims the lights. Some bright red text appears. Koyanis, Katesy? Okay. And then this droning music starts playing, and we see a shot of some ancient tribal drawings, and instantly the entire class was already confused and checked out. They did not want to watch it. I, however, was very intrigued by this. Sadly, however, we only watched the first maybe 10 or 15 minutes of it because everyone basically unanimously decided that the movie was not worth watching in the class. Some of the comments made were that it's good to get high to, or something to put on when you fall asleep, or something that you'd see on TV when you wake up at 2 a.m. They all thought that. But me, I kept thinking about that movie. And in my next class, I was still thinking about it. And then I went home, and I was still thinking about it. So I decided I would watch it. I found a very legal means of watching it. And I sat down one night, and I just watched the whole thing. And it never left my mind. It was bizarre, experimental, and one of the most fascinating films I've ever seen. So today, I am going to be talking about KOYAANISQATSI, the film by renowned old man Godfrey Reggio, with music by other renowned old man Philip Glass. Here's a quick and abridged history on the film. In 1972, Godfrey Reggio, who was working for the Institute of Regional Education, made a 2-year campaign that involved invasions of privacy and the use of technology to control behavior. The campaign was actually so successful that Ritalin was eliminated as a behavior-modifying drug in many New Mexico school districts. But after the campaign ended, the ACLU, who was sponsoring it, eventually withdrew, and the IRE unsuccessfully attempted to raise millions of dollars at a fundraiser in Washington, D.C. After that, the Institute only had about $40,000 left in its budget, and Reggio was unsure how to use that small amount of funds. However, his friend Ron Frick insisted to Reggio that the money could be used to produce a film, which eventually led to the production of KOYAANISQATSI. KOYAANISQATSI, as referred to in the opening credits, is a Hopi word that means life of moral corruption and turmoil, or life out of balance. Frick and Reggio chose to shoot unscripted footage and edit it into a roughly hour-long film. After the filming, Frick took a job as a waiter and edited the footage into a 20-minute reel while working in LA. Ron Frick even is quoted as saying, "I just shot anything that I thought would look good on film. Shooting bums, as well as buildings, it didn't matter. It was all the same from my standpoint. I just shot the form of things." Which pretty much is the story of KOYAANISQATSI. The IRE wanted to continue the project in 1976, so Frick traveled with a camera crew to the four corners of the world, where footage was taken on a 16mm zoom lens. Reggio and Frick found time-lapse footage as well and some low-visibility commercial work and decided to use it in their film. They built a motor with an intervalometer, and the camera was filmed at a rate of 112 frames per second. That's where they get their sort of distorted time-lapse footage. Reggio actually got a chance to meet Francis Ford Coppola while working on post-production at the Samuel Goldwyn studio, and the director requested to see KOYAANISQATSI, and even loved it so much to the point of wanting to add his name to the credits. He also helped present and distribute the film. Now, that's all cool, but is it even a good film? Well, let's hear what the director has to say. Reggio has stated that the Qatsi films are intended to create an experience and that the viewer is responsible for interpreting the film. Well, that's not very helpful, Reggio, but thank you. Yes, basically that means it is up to you to decide if it's even a good film. And that's a hard decision to make. It's definitely not for everyone. A lot of people, even ones I mentioned at the beginning of this video, will find it very boring, and you could even call it the dreaded pretentious word. It's an extremely selective taste. But as a huge fan of documentaries, especially experimental ones, this one really struck a chord with me. It hit everything that I look for in a film experience. The joy and intrigue of the first viewing, and, more importantly, the concepts that stick with you long after you watch it. It's not a film that needs to be rewatched, per se, but I know I'll never forget it. I watched it in October of last year, and it's April now, and I'm just now processing my thoughts on it. It took about 6 months, but it was heavily worth it. It's truly a film that you need to see to get a proper experience of. If you can get your hands on a copy, I highly recommend you watch KOYAANISQATSI. Maybe not the sequels. The second one's good, but I do not know about that third one.